when something happens, what kind of request do you think a webhook is? Is it a post request? Is it a get request? Is it a put a patch? Or is it a delete? Right? Remember that webhook is you are receiving a notification when something happens. Okay, most of you got it, which is good. It's not all. It's not post. It's not put or patch. It's not delete. It's get, right? Because you are getting notified when something happens. Again, post is you're sending information. You might send a request, but you're not receiving anything. Get is when you're getting a notification. Put or patch is when you're updating a notification or you're updating a record in that sense. Delete is deleting. So you getting notified means you get a request. So you get something. Perfect. Now, and go back. What do we do with APIs? How do we make them work? How does the whole thing happen? We use an API documentation, right? We don't refer to APIs as an API. We refer to it as an API documentation. So think of an API documentation as a document that looks like this right here. It looks very complex, but it's very easy when you get straight down to the fundamentals. It's sort of a document that shows you how you can automate different softwares, right? So let's say you have HubSpot, and I'm gonna go back here because this is important. I'm gonna give you an example. I had a client come to me and they said a few months ago, and they said, "Look, I want to automate my Zoho CRM, right?" And I had never used it. So what did I do? I went to Google and I searched Zoho CRM API documentation. And then I came to this page, right? So this page allowed me to see what can you automate within each software, right? So a software has an API documentation, not all softwares, right? Which is where we can sort of get in the field of what can you automate, what can you not automate. But a documentation allows you to see what can I automate within a software, okay? In this case, we have Zoho CRM in front of us. On the left-hand side, we can see that we have, I mean, you can't see it clearly, but it says post, put, patch, delete, get, right? There's different actions. In the middle, when you press in that action, it shows you a summary of what the action does. So let's say you put get a record, then here it gives you an overview of what the get a record actually means. So 3 different things. We have the request, we have the summary of the request, and we have the how to make the request. And that's using some code stuff, right? It's nothing too complex because we're using some tools that don't require code in that sense, but you need to understand the meaning. So if you see here on the right hand side, you can see a curl. That's a URL. There's nothing you should worry about it now, but just to give you some sort of understanding of the fundamentals, we have the URL, which is a URL that allows us to see what is the task that we're doing. Is it sending information? Is it creating a task? Is it retrieving a task? What is it that we're doing? Then we have here X get, right? I'm looking at the top right, X get. Now, as I said, get is getting information. So when you look at get, you understand that, okay, so this action right here is you want to get something from the CRM. And yeah, so API documentation, a documentation that shows you what you can automate within a software and what you cannot automate, right? If you can't find something, so let's say you wanted to send a record to Zoho CRM and it is not here. On the post records, it doesn't say anything about sending something. That means you can't do it simply. So again, on the left, records, on the middle, the summary, on the right is how to make the request. But to understand automations, you need to understand the fundamentals again. So you need to understand how it works. How does it actually do something without you instructing it in a way to do it? So I'm looking at the Gmail UI. UI stands for user interface, very fancy term. It just means what do you see in front of you? And the UI of Gmail has compose, it has move the email, it has reply the email, it has tag an email, it has reply everything. It has different actions, right? Now, think of these actions as small different things in the back end behind the Gmail, right? The actual infrastructure, where the API goes and actually does the task. It presses the compose in your email. It presses the reply. It presses the tag. It does that for you. That's why it's automated, because you're not doing it, right? The actual software itself is doing it on its own, right? And you obviously it's instructing it in a way, which I'll show you later. But yeah, it's sort of doing it in itself. Now, what can be automated? What cannot be automated? Very important to understand, because what I'm going to show you, again, you've probably never seen before. If you have, not to the depth that we're going to go inside, but there is a barrier to what things you can automate, what things you can't, right? So just bear in mind that the things you can automate are the ones where, first, the software has an API documentation. Now, again, API documentation shows you what you can automate. So if there's no documentation, that means you can't automate anything. So that's why you need to have an API documentation. Now, as a definition, if a software has an API documentation, it has an API availability. Okay, the API is available. It has documentation. That's what it means. So a software, to be able to automate a certain task, the software in the task needs to have an API availability, an API documentation. Then, again, one of the most important things of what you can automate and what you cannot automate is the task itself needs to be repetitive, and it needs to have predefined steps, rules, conditions, and logic. Okay, this is very important because the task itself needs to have a repetitive process. So let's say your onboarding process, right? Your project management. Every time a new client comes in, you have to send them an email thanking them for signing up to whatever you have. You have to send a message to the team alarming them that a new client came in. You have to make a record on your CRM because that's where you store all your leads. You have to make a slide deck for the client, right? So that right there has predefined steps, rules, and logic. That's a task that we can visually, or we can actually be able to look at and go, okay, how can we start automating this? Because it has a repetitive process. It has predefined steps, rules, and logic. So what you need to think about on the other side of the screen is, what tasks am I doing that have predefined steps, rules, and logic? Because a lot of tasks that you do on a daily basis, you might not think they're repetitive or they have rules and logic, but they do, right? And the only way to actually know that is to break it down, to look at the different steps that you have. Now, with that being said, what can all be automated? Of course, logically, it's ad hoc tasks that require human decision making, right? That's where a human needs to be incorporated in the process. It needs to be present in the process. So that way we cannot automate the task itself. And obviously, if there's no API availability, if there's no documentation, then we can't even look towards automating the certain task, because the software where the task is involved, there's no availability. It's not automatable, right? Now, the big roadblock, can you work with these APIs on your own, right? The answer is yes and no. No, because it does require you to know a lot about coding, and it does require you to have the infrastructures available to connect the different APIs, right? Yes, because there is a solution. And the solution is low to no code platforms. Okay, this, guys, is, I call it revolutionary, because what these platforms have done for the workforce is allowed people who are not technical to be able to automate different things where previously you've needed to know how to code, right? And that's exactly what I do, because when I started, I had no coding experience, and this allowed me to provide real value to businesses, provide real value to my own workflows, my own life, in automating different things without being knowledgeable about any Python, about any JavaScript, any of that, right? Because it's all low to no code. Of course, it's not no code just, right? It's also low code, because there are instances where you need to know how to sort of understand the coding language in some sense for some specific things like the API documentation. But for the most part, it's very much no code. Now, what are the platforms that we're going to use, right? So obviously, with the low to no code platforms, especially now because they're very popularized, there's more and more coming through. And I personally, as an individual who posts a lot of content about AI automation, I get reached out by a lot of SaaS owners, a lot of founders who are making these sort of softwares. So I get to see one-to-one with the founders what they're building. And I can tell you from an honest point of view that it's crazy. It's absolutely, a lot of it is just fancy stuff, right? But there's a lot of software that they're building that actually provide real value, that allow you on the other side of the screen who doesn't know anything about technicality or anything related to that sort of things, to be able to actually do shit. Like you can actually do certain tasks. You can actually provide value in that sense with this platform. So you probably know Zapier because it's very popular, but we have Make, we have Power Automate, Caseflow, Automate.io, Pabbly, and we have hundreds more. So that's sort of thing there. Now, why Make? Because that's the software that we're going to be focusing on. Make.com is low cost, almost 20 times less expensive than Zapier, and a bit more expensive than other softwares. But the thing for me that really drives it is the visual element. Because I'll give you this. A lot of you guys right now are not technical, right? And that's fine, because no one starts technical. You have to learn. You have to spend time actually doing it. So a way for me to teach people is to show people. Just like I'm showing you this slideshow, I'm not just telling you, right? You get to see something while you hear me. That's what I truly find valuable from Make.com, from the actual software, because I post content, right? And I want to teach people. And the only way to teach people is to show them, to visually show them what the process looks like. How can we start? How can we sort of make it happen? How can we finish? How can we provide value, right? And that's where the visual element comes in, and that's where content comes in. So when you're gonna see me build the automations, it's very visual. So you will understand that, look, a circle means a software, the line means it's connected, and if it's another circle, that's another software. And they have these different symbols of the different software, so it's very easy to follow along and to understand what's going on. Now, pre-automation checklist, before we actually get straight into building, because I know a lot of you guys are already bored, and I would be too. So I want to get straight into building because it's really exciting. Pre-automation checklist is very, very important. Again, this, guys, you need to listen because it's one of the most important things, and it's one of the things that you should be taking home after you finish this workshop. If you have a workflow or a process and you want to know how to automate it, first thing you have to do, the first thing you have to do, this is the most important thing, is to break it down into a flowchart, okay? A flowchart is just a block, line, block, right? Showing you the different steps of the actual workflow. Then what you want to do is go through each different block and look at how many softwares are involved in this task, in this sort of block. List them out and then see, go on Google and search up software name, API documentation. Does it have it? Does it not, right? If it doesn't, then it's not automatable. If it does, then you can look to understand what is automatable and what is not. And obviously use ChatGPT to help you out, please, without having to go deep dive and just learning yourself like that. Okay, on to the exciting part. This is going to be practical. And again, you're going to be overwhelmed. And I'm telling you this because I've had experience and it's normal that you're going to be overwhelmed. So don't worry. But practicality is where you learn the most, right? You're going to watch me do it. So I'm super excited. I want your undivided attention for 90 minutes. It's going to be hard, but we'll get straight to it. First step, of course, you'll be signing into Make.com later on. One thing I don't want you guys to do is to do it with me, right? Because this is obviously the first time you see this. So just watch me do it. And that's how I learned as well. The first use case is an automated onboarding flow. Okay, this flow allows you to automatically onboard every single client that comes through just by filling out a form, right? I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to my Miro board. I'm using a software called Miro, right, to make the flowchart, to break it down step by step. I literally made this, broke it down, put the symbol of the software so that you can visualize what it looks like and how we can automate the process. Okay, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to show you what it looks like, the final end result, okay, before we actually get building it. So we're going to build it step by step, but I'm going to show you what it looks like on the end result, and then go on to step by step building it and going straight into it. So I'm going to go to Make.com here, and don't worry if you're not understanding this just yet. I'll be going through everything step by step. I'm going to copy the form, which is the form that I'm going to use to start the process. But the idea behind this is to be able to fill out a form, which has the full name of the client, the email address of the client, the company name, location, and be able to make a Google Drive folder with the client name, create a Slack channel, add the lead to the CRM, so add the client in this case to the CRM or ClickUp, which is what we're going to use, generate an onboarding document, and send the email to the client with all the onboarding details. That's the full process that we're going to go through. So I'm going to toggle this on. This just means you're turning on the automation. And I'm going to start filling this form out. Again, I'm going to show you everything step by step, so don't worry if you're not understanding just yet. I'm going to put my name, my email, company, and then let's put London. Okay, so as you can see, the webhook, which is the first step, it got notified when something happens, right? It got a signal. What it did is that created a Google Drive folder. It then created a Slack channel. It then added the lead to the CRM. It made a document and it sent the email back to the client. So let me go to my email here, right here. And I get an email saying, hey, welcome abroad. And here is the Google Drive folder that it made automatically with the Google document, the onboarding document that we made as well, automatically. If I go to ClickUp, Michele Torti is added here with the Google Drive folder, and the stage is new client onboarding. And then if I go to my Slack, I will be able to see the JM, which is the company name, that a Slack channel was created for that specific company. I don't think you guys can see it. Let me see if you can see it now. You should be able to see it. With that specific company, right here, that our team members can talk with, right? Because every single company has a different Slack channel because we want to separate the different communications within Slack. But that's sort of the automation that we're going to build. Let me go back here. Let me go here. And okay, so we'll start. I'll give you an overview of sort of the platform just so you can understand the fundamentals of what it is. In essence, we have the dashboard, right? The dashboard is a way for us to visualize what are the active, so scenario means automation, okay? So what is the active automation scenario? And also what plan are we on? Operations is the way that they charge. So how does Make charge? How do the automation platforms charge? Is by operation. So when a webhook gets notified, when you send an email, that's an operation, right? So it's sending an email is one operation. Receiving something is one operation. I don't know, talking to ChatGPT is one operation. So I have, so here, right here in different plans, you have set amount of operations that you can use every month, and that's how they charge you, because they need to make money. So that's sort of the thing there. Now, on the left-hand side, you can see scenarios. This is where you're going to see all the different automations that you're building. Of course, yours is going to look blank when you start. But on the top-hand side, whether you're in scenarios or whether you're an organization, you can see creating a scenario. When you press create a new scenario, it will take you to a page that looks like this. This is the blank canvas. This is where the magic happens. It's where you start everything. And to give you an overview of sort of the surface level UI, we have modules. So this is called a module. A module is a circle in this case, and a module is a software, right? Whether you are using ClickUp, Gmail, Google Drive, you can see there's thousands and thousands of softwares that are here listed out for you to take a look at the different things that you can automate. So let me go to Gmail, for example. So I pressed on the software right here, or you can simply search it up and then you can go to Gmail, and then I can see the different actions that you can actually perform in Gmail. So you can copy an email, you can watch emails, you can create a draft, delete an email. Let's go to ClickUp. You can watch tasks, you can list all tasks, you can do a bunch of stuff. And that right there, it's sort of like your cheat code to looking at the API documentation, right? Without you having to go to Google and see what's automatable, you can simply just go on make.com and see, okay, what can I do within that software? So if you're using QuickBooks, then I can go here and I can see, okay, you can get triggered, you can get notified when something happens. You can create an invoice automatically. You can delete an invoice. You can create a bill, right? There's different things that you can do within each software. And the only way to know is to go here, search it up, and then yeah, just see what's possible. Typically, what I do is that if I search up a software here and I don't find it, that's when I go to Google and find the API documentation. But everything is here. I'm going to go to the onboarding flow. I'm going to toggle this off. And this is so that when you finish building, when you fully do it, you can turn this on and it will automatically run. I'm going to delete all of this. And I'm going to start from 0. So let me go to Google Forms right here. I'm going to go to the onboarding form. So I will show you everything from setting up the form to sending the email at the end. I'm using Google Forms, right? So this is the platform called Google Forms. It is Google based, but you can replace this with Typeform. You can replace this with Jotforms. There's a bunch of different softwares that you can use in terms of different forms. In this case, I'm using Google Forms because it's the most accessible to me right now. If I go here to my Miro, the first step is to fill out the onboarding form. So I want to be able to fill out a form and get notified, right? So the way that we get notified again is using webhook. And let me delete this. I'm going to put this here. And yeah, okay. So when we get notified, then we want to create a folder. Then we want to create a Slack channel, add the lead to the CRM, generate the document, and send the email to the client. So let me go here. And the first thing you have to do is obviously build a form. I made it very easy, full name, email, company name, and location. And the way to get notified is to create a webhook. So if you started with 0 right here, you would press plus and you would look for webhook. It's either in the top right, or you can simply search webhook right here. Then you go here and you can create a custom webhook. Then you press add and you just name it whatever you want. So in this case, let's do onboarding form example. And you press save. So again, we added a webhook and now we just have the URL. The URL is this one. So let me copy the address. And if you can see on the top, you have the fixed part which is fixed, make.com. And then this part right here, which is unique. That's what allows us to get notified, right? Because it's unique. With that being said, now, how do we make it so that when we fill out the form, it sends a signal, right? How does that even happen? Well, we use code in this case. So I wrote some code. By me, I mean ChatGPT. So I didn't write any of it. So that's exactly what you should be doing. But in this case, I'm going to be giving you all the resources of the code and everything like that, so you have access to it. Now, the way to connect it is to go to the top right. And this is only for Google Forms. Right? If it's Typeform, it's much easier. But in essence, you go here, you go to AppScript, and you come to this page right here. Okay. This is, again, how to connect your Google form to, or how to get notified when you fill out your Google form to the webhook on make.com. And you'll see this code. Very fancy code, nothing that you should really worry about. I'm going to give you access to this document, but I put the script right here, which is the one that I copied here. And this is the one that we're going to be doing later as well. But you're going to be copying this, and you're going to paste it right here in this whole thing. And then the only thing you would have to change is this webhook URL. So this one right here. So let me delete this and change it with the one that we just made. Let me go here. So again, what did we do so far? Okay, without skipping steps. I made the webhook on make.com. I got the URL. I made the script. I added it here, and I replaced the webhook here. That's simple. That's all you should do to connect it. Once that's done, we can test it, because a part of automations is testing every single step. We call it iterative testing, right? Making sure that you test it over and over time to make sure that every single step works. What I could do is try build the whole automation just fully, right? Which a lot of guys do. And then they come back and something doesn't happen, and they're like, okay, what went wrong? And they don't really know because they never tested it step by step. So it's very important for you to test. Once that's done, once we added the script and we replace this, which you can find on the resources document, which I'm going to share with you later, you want to test. So to test, we can go here, and I'm going to copy the responder link, which is the link that whoever would respond to. And then I'm going to run this once. To run this once, which is testing it, testing step by step, you either go down here, press run once, or you can, with 2 fingers, type right here and run this module only. So module, again, is a circle type of software. So let me just speed this through and see. I just want to see if it triggers. If it doesn't, then there's a problem. If it does, then we're all good to go. As you can see, it triggered. So it sent an operation. It sent a signal, right? With the full name, with the email address, with the company name and location. Let me do it again with an actual name, so you get to see it is James Lowe, james@gmail.com, and then media, and then London. I submit, and then I got triggered right here. So we got notified. Right now we got different variables. James Lowe, James Media, and so on. Now this right here is what's going to allow us to be able to use the variables in different steps, in certain steps after this. So going back here, this first step is done. We finished it. We're all good. We connected the Google form to make.com, and now we can go on to creating the folder. Now, what do we use for the folder? We use Google Drive, right? So what do we have to do in this case is we can either go here to Google Drive, and we want to look for create a folder. So this is a different action. So if you want to do something, just scan through it and see if what you want to do is listed right here. In this case, we want to create a folder, and I'm going to just type here, and it will create the little circle, right? And in this case, you want to drag it across, and it will automatically connect to this. If you don't want to do that, you can simply just press add another module right here, and that will add a module or a circle, and then you can look for Google Drive in this case, tap on it, and then you can create a folder. To be able to connect your Google Drive to make.com, you want to press add, and you just want to sign in with Google. If you're using a Gmail account, it's going to be a bit more longer, bit more tedious. All you have to do is follow the step-by-step guide. It's very easy to follow, but you can do it. Connection name is just connect it wherever you want. It is important though to name your connections correctly, because I don't know if I have it here. Yeah, just look at this. I was going mad at one point because I had no clue what connections I was using and where I had to go. But name it right and then send it with Google, and it will take you through the whole process that you usually go to for any software. Once that's done, you want to obviously select, is this a drive folder that is shared with me? Is this my drive? Is this a Google Share drive? In this case, it's my drive. And in a new folder location, I'm just going to add this. And then because we're creating a folder in this case, and we're not adding the folder inside another folder. But if you were adding a folder inside another folder, then you'd be choosing the different folder that you want to add it to. And then we come to the folder's name. How do we make it now so that the previous variable is added here automatically without me having to fix the name, right? That's where automation comes in, because we use dynamic variables, right? Because it's dynamic, to send the information from the previous step to the following step, right? This is the power of automation. This is what allows us to automate different workflows. So right here, you can see that if I look at the circle right here, when I go across this, it goes bigger and it goes smaller, right? Because that shows that you're using that sort of circle, you're using that module. You're referencing the previous step for the following one. So in this case, we want to do company. So I drag this across, or you can simply tap on the variable, and then I'm going to do onboarding folder. And I'm going to tap share folder, yes, because I want it to be accessible to everyone, or in this case, the client, and I'm going to press save. So we made the webhook, we connected to form, we added the client folder, and now we can go on to creating the Slack channel. Now, to be able to do the Slack channel, it's the exact same process that we went through just now, but with Slack. So let me press plus, let me go to Slack, and let me, what was it? Create a channel. Where is it? I can even type this. Create a channel right here. So if you see here, Slack came through. You know when I mentioned there's a visual element to it? Well, in this case, a webhook looks like this. You know that this is Google Drive from experience, and you know that this is Slack. So you can visually see what it looks like and how it's connected. Other softwares don't have this, which is why I like Make.com. The name, of course, sorry, to add this, you can simply just put a name and then you can press save and it'll take you through the whole authorization process, which is very easy, just like any other software. The name is, what do you want to name the Slack channel? So I'm going to name this from the previous step, and I'm going to be testing Google Drive as well, so don't worry about that. I just wanted to show you this first because it is this exact same process, and I'm going to be dragging this across, company name, and so on. There is a problem with this because Slack does not like uppercase letters, so we're going to have to turn the name, which is uppercase in this sense. Let's say someone puts media, the first M is always going to be uppercase. You want to turn that into lowercase. I'm going to press save, and I'm going to test the Google Drive. I'm not going to look at the chat, but if you told me that I should have tested Google Drive, then you're on the right track because we have to test every single step. I'm going to be submitting another form. I'm going to be putting my name, company, media, and then I'm going to location London. Okay, someone asked, what's the Google Drive folder for this scenario? It's part of the onboarding process. Your onboarding process can look very different, but in this case, I used to make documents, onboarding documents, so that the client had access to, so that he could fill out the different information. So in automation, you need software names, you need the scope of the project, everything you need to store somewhere. In this case, we wanted to store into a document that was shared with the client. That's why it was there. Okay, so I'm gonna press submit, and then it's gonna get triggered and it's gonna make the folder. So if it's green, if it says 1, that means we're all good. 1, by the way, means 1 operation. I'm gonna connect it again, and I'm not gonna test Slack just because, actually I am. Yeah, I am. I'm gonna Slack. I'm gonna put yes as private. And in this case, I will show you that whenever we do this without turning this into a lowercase, it will not work because it doesn't like uppercase letters. So I'm going to run this once, and I'm going to see, I don't have to run this again from end to finish. We can just type here, and I can press the company name. So in this case, let's do JM. This will give me an error. So this is what an error looks like. Invalid name specials. This just means the name is not right. It doesn't work like that, right? So let me try and make it so that it's lowercase, JM. Name taken. That's because we already made a channel with that name. So let me name it media T. This right here is successful. So if you see green, it means it's all good. And if I go to my Slack, I will see a channel there. So how do we make it so that the company name is turned lower? Now, Make.com released a new feature, which is using AI to make these sort of things happen, right? So you can go here, you can copy paste this and say, I want to make this lowercase. And then it takes it and you can apply and it will automatically do it. You have to delete the other one that was there, but that's how you do it there. So save. I'm going to test it again. In this case, I'm going to put JM and name taken, right? Because it's already taken. Let's do media again without the T. Also taken. Okay, let's see if I get the last one right. James. This shouldn't be taken. Okay, perfect. See how the J at the start was capital? In this case, it turned it to a lowercase so that it's able to do it. Okay, so to recap what we did, we made a form. We connected it to make.com. What we did is we created a folder because that's where we store all the different documents for the client. We created a Slack channel because Slack is a communication channel, is where different teams talk to each other. It's like Google Chat or WhatsApp, right? Discord. That's a communication channel. And that's a communication channel that our team has with the client. And then what we did is we went to the specifics and we said, okay, Slack doesn't like uppercase letters. So what do? We go to AI, or you can simply go here and you can look at the lower right here, which tells you it converts all alphabetical characters into a lowercase letters. And you added the variable to the AI and you said, look, I want to make it lowercase, do the formula, make it for me, and then you added it here. And we press save. And that's automating it until the Slack channel right here. Now we're going to add a delete to the CRM. That's adding it to ClickUp. So ClickUp right here, this is the interface. This is what it looks like. We're going to add it right here in this line item. ClickUp is a way to manage different clients. I personally use Notion, which I'll show in a bit, but that's what we're going to use for this use case. Let me go back here and let me press plus. I'm going to look for ClickUp. So I know it's there, but you can simply just look for it, ClickUp, and then they call line items, just like you add a row on a Google Sheet. You add a task, you create a task on ClickUp. So in this case, we can create a task. And then I'm going to choose my one. The workspace is going to be JM Solutions Workspace, because if you go here on the top right, you can see JM Solutions Workspace. So you see how the different variables are all dynamic, even on the make.com automations. CRM, because we're working in the CRM folder. Folders is opportunities. And then we want to do new clients because this is the new clients right here. Don't worry too much about the ClickUp interface, just showing you that you can add something to a CRM. If you have HubSpot, it's very easy to add the HubSpot. There's no worries there. What do the numbers by each module name mean, represent? That's a good question. So I'm going to talk about both numbers. Let me press save here. Just name this. I don't know whether you mean the number right here or the number right here. If you're talking about the number right here is an operation. So as I mentioned, ClickUp or make.com charges you per operation. This is the operation and this is the number of modules. So if you add a module from the start, it will be number 1. In this case, this is the 9th module that we've added to this scenario. So ClickUp right here, we chose the different task and now we have the task name. The task name is what's going to appear here. What do we want there? In this case, we want the name of the person, right? So let me add full name. Let me drag it across. And then we can look for different fields. In this case, I want to add company name and drive folder and then the stage. Company name. So a company name right here. You can drag it across. Stage will be new client onboarding and drive folder will be the web view link, because that's what we use. That's the link that we use to get the folder. So if I go here, we can see the web view link. That's the link that we use, right? That's the variable that we're going to use. We usually use only web view link, folder ID, and name, right? Don't worry about all these variables that are here. Most of them are pretty much useless. But the one that you should worry about is the web view link right here. So let me go here. Let me drag it across, and then we can press save. So what did we do? We added the link to the ClickUp. We added different fields, and now we can test it to see if it works. By the way, I am going to be reading the chat all along, just to see if you guys have any questions in that sense. Would you be able to include a voice or video output task in the same flow? Yes, you can. What do you do if you come to a decision tree? Simple example, if X, then P, else, then Q. I will show you that later on. Yellow highlight on white is learning. Okay. Okay. So why is ClickUp here? Because we're adding the leads to ClickUp in this sense. So now that this is done, let me test it. Let me go here. So let me do James. Let me do company, and let me do a drive link right here. Again, it's green. It's all good. It's correct. And if I go here, I can see that we have James, company, drive folder, and new client onboarding. So let me delete this. And I can go to the next step. So this step is done. Let's do the Google document, which is pretty much the same as Google Drive and everything else. Let me go here. Let me press plus. Let me look for Google document. We want to create a document, want to connect your account, very easy, sending with Google. And then what do you want to name the document? In this case, we want to name the document company name, onboarding document. Okay, the content is what do you want inside the document. So if you go to Google document right here, we have the title, we have the actual content. It's saying, what do we want to add here? In this case, we don't want to add anything. It is compulsory to add something. So we're just gonna just type onboarding. And then now we want to add this document to the folder that we made before. If you're a Microsoft user, then this is not gonna make too much sense for Google. But in essence, is you're making a Word document and you're adding it to, I don't know what's called in Microsoft, but it's sort of the way that you store all your documents there. The Microsoft place. So here, the new document location, we want to use the folder ID. We want to drag it across. What are we saying here? We're saying you need to make this document. You need to add it to the school folder so that this document can be seen in the folder like we did before. In the email, as I showed you, when I pressed on the folder, it showed the document. So that's where we need to do. And then we press save. So now what we did is we added the document, we created it, we added it back to the Google Drive, and we got this far. So we made the webhook, we connected to the form, we created a Drive folder, we created a Slack channel, we added the leads to the CRM, which is ClickUp, and then we made a document on Google Docs. And if I test this, I can go to there, and then I'm not too sure about the folder ID. Yeah, file not found. I don't have a folder ID right now because I don't have it with me, but this should work. I've tested it hundreds of times, which is good. Of course, you should be testing it from start to finish all the time, but since I've done it multiple times, it's all good. Then you go back. The last step is email. So I'm gonna press plus, Gmail, send an email. By the way, if you see this, that just means we had an error. It's totally fine. It happens all the time, but it's just showing you like, look, here's where you went wrong. Now we have the email, right? So how do you send an email automatically? You want to add, send it with Google, the same process. And now it's asking me for three different things. It's asking me, who do you want to send the email to? What's the subject line of the email? And what's the content of the email? So I can go here, add as a recipient, and then the email address. If I scroll to the webhook, I can look for the email address. That's the one that we added for the client. Subject line is going to, I'm just going to copy it from here. So welcome to the JM Solutions team. And then I'm going to make the content. So let me do this. The content will just be the same. I'm going to copy this and paste it here. Okay. Right there. Now, if I paste this, if I have this right here with all these spaces, it's going to not come like this. It's going to come all as a paragraph, right? So what we have to do in this case is we have to create or use HTML tags. Before I get there, let's replace the name right here. So hey name. So hey, we drag across the name. So this again is dynamic. You're using previous variables for new ones. And you want to say hey first name or hey name. Below is your personal onboarding folder. And then here you want to reference the WebView link that we can get from the Google Drive. And we can get it here. So let me drag it across. Or again, you can tap this. We'll go here. And then we're thrilled to have you in the JM team and can't wait for you to get started. I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like if I just leave it like this, just so you can see exactly why we're doing what we're doing. Email address, this, and then let me just do this. It's an example or a link. It sent an email to me. If I go here, it sent it all like this, right? It's all squished. It's all squished up. So we want to prevent this. We want to make it so that there is spaces so it looks like this. It looks very neat. It looks very clean. In this case, we use HTML tags. So what is an HTML tag? An HTML tag is a way for us to be able to make the email look good, to have spaces, to have colors and stuff like that. In this case, we just want spaces. And the way to do that is BR right here represents a space. So if I add this in between these, the email is going to come out like this between one space. In this case, we want two spaces, right? So we're going to put 1 and 2. Same thing with 1 and 2. Same thing with 1 and 2. Same thing as 1 and 2. And then same thing here. And then the one here, we only want one space. So by space, I mean new line, right? One new line. And that way we can look at the email just like it looks like here. and we press save. So again, BR is just a new line. And if you want 2 new lines for it to look 1 and 2, then you can just add 2 of them. Now, let me test this so you can see what it looks like. Let me go, same email. I go here, then you can see that there are spaces right here. Okay. Let me go to the onboarding flow and let me test this from start to end. I'm gonna start this. I'm gonna type the onboarding folder for the onboarding form, and then I'm gonna start doing James. So Jack Holt. My email is gonna be the same. Company name, let's do growth school. Location is gonna be London. I'm gonna submit this. This should trigger. It should send us a Slack, add it to the ClickUp, make the document, and then send back the email with all the information that we have. So if I go here, I can paste this. I can see, hey, Jack Holt. Here's the onboarding folder. It's giving it to me like this because I'm sending it to the exact same email every single time. If I go to the drive folder, then I can see that Growth School onboarding folder is here. And if I go to ClickUp, I can see Jack Holt is added here. And if I go to Slack, I can see that Growth School is added here. So that right there is a fully automated system that can automate your onboarding for every single client. Again, your onboarding process might look very different to this, but this is just giving you the opportunity to see what's possible within an onboarding system. I'm going to show you a few more onboarding systems. I'm not going to build it, but just to show you what the scope is. And as you can see, I'm mapping this out step by step. And that's exactly what I do with my clients, right? My development process is as follows. I do the first step, which is the audit, right? The audit allows us to visually see what's possible, or not what's possible, but sort of what it looks like right now. And we want to break it down like this, step by step. So the call is closed, you book your onboarding call, you trigger the form, and this is the form that we're going to filling out. So that's the onboarding form. You want to add a lead to the CRM, you want to send the agreement, you want to send the invoice, you want to send them, add to ClickUp in a different space, and you want to send them a gift. All of this is automatic, by the way. All of this is done with automation. And you want to make a dashboard on Notion, you want to create a Slack channel, you want to create a message, you want to send the email, and then the delivery process is human, and then you want to schedule a kickoff call. This right here is a full onboarding process that I see agencies that make millions of dollars every single month or every single year actually use, right? This right here. And I've helped agencies do this, right? Take this process, automate it so that you don't have to worry about onboarding every single client. And that's where scalability comes into play, right? That's where you can actually scale as a business, because we both know that the thing that's restraining a business from scaling is time. It's resources, right? So you don't wanna be able to hire more people for the job that you could be doing yourself with automation as well. This right here is another process right here. As you can see, each different step has a symbol right here, so you can see the software that's used. In this case, we added to HubSpot right here. We use PandaDoc to send the agreement. We send the invoice, and then there's a bunch of different actions that you can do right here. If there's a human symbol, that means the human needs to take place in the action, but we still want to offload it or show in the onboarding process. Now, onto the actual project management. Like, what is the project management system look like, and how can we integrate that using automation? This is a recent dashboard that I made for one of my clients. It's a voice agent company, so they help businesses in the US with build custom voice agents. And what it does is that it allows you to scale your business using, this is called a Notion. So we use Notion to build the actual database, and we have different actions. This is how he manages his whole business. So we have new client comes in. For each project, he has the different stages of the project. If he wants to make a new client, he can simply press new, and this automatically makes a new client, which has the Miro URL, which you can fill out. It also has the following things. He has the client portal where the client can see this as he is introduced to the company. He has the onboarding video. He has the general resources, which is a product view, project build status, contract, which is signed, the onboarding status, the different to-dos that the client needs to have, the onboarding form that the client needs to fill out. And this is done for every single client. This is more of a Notion thing rather than make.com, but it's still a process that's automated, right? Where you are able to scale because you are able to use technologies that allow you to create different resources automatically without you having to hire more people. In this case, all he has to do is either tap new prospect, new project, new to-do, new recording list, new sale, new expense. And this is linked within his finance tracker. This is linked within the different client tracker. This is linked within his to-do workspace, which all his team members have access to the to-dos, and they can see the calendar, which is linked to their calendar, the to-dos from today, the to-dos from this week, all of them, the ones that are done, the ones that are reoccurring. So this right here shows you the different things that he is able to do because of automation, right? And this can be linked to Make.com, of course, and we are linking it to Make.com to do a few things. But mainly it's how can we create a dashboard that allows you or your agency, specifically mostly service-based businesses, scale, because a lot of business owners have to hire more people to do this sort of tasks. So let me go back to the Miro right here, and I can go on to our second automation for the day. And that's probably the most exciting for most of you because it relates to most of you as well. Of course, onboarding is a process that businesses struggle with, but only businesses that are actually onboarding a lot of clients. The ones that don't, obviously don't have that problem in that sense. Okay, so we're done with that. I can guarantee a lot of you are overwhelmed already, which is great to hear because you've learned, you saw what's possible. Now we're going to go on to building a fully AI content generation system that you can use starting tomorrow. Okay, so let me delete this, let me delete this, let me delete this, and let me go to the scenarios and show you the content system and how it looks like right now. So Outskill content, and then this right here. So to give you the overview of what we're going to be building, this is sick. And this is going to allow you to save so much time in making content. And this is what I used to do. And this is what I do right now with my own content system. So the idea here and what you need to get started is a Google Sheet. You need a Make.com account. You need access to your OpenAI API key. And you need a LinkedIn or Facebook account. You can do this with Instagram. You can do this with Reddit, Twitter, all the different apps, as long as they are automatable and they are on Make.com. So the idea behind this is to make a fully custom dashboard. Dashboard just means a place where you can do different things on Google Sheets. On the first column, we want to be able to write a topic. On the second column, we want to be able to have a button that when we press, it triggers an automation that generates a Facebook post, LinkedIn post, an image. And then when we press post content, we can post it automatically to LinkedIn and Facebook. This is what the backend looks like. And these are the different steps that we need to take. Let me show you the end result so you can see exactly what it looks like. I'm going to be turning this on, so it's good. And I'm going to type why AI automation is an important skill to learn. I'm going to press generate. This should trigger the automation. It should send it this way. Now it's talking to ChatGPT automatically, and then it's making a Facebook post. Then it's talking to ChatGPT again automatically, making a LinkedIn post, and then it's going to do this exact same process using ChatGPT again to generate the image before bringing it all back to the sheet right here. So we're going to wait a few seconds for the image to be made, and then we're going to bring it all back to the sheet right here. And this is all done automatically without you having to do anything. So status update finished, and then you have the LinkedIn post, you have the Facebook post, and you have the image URL right here, which is done automatically. If I press post content, then this will go here. It will post it to Facebook. So we'll go to Facebook and see the post right there. And then it will download the image and post it to LinkedIn. And we'll see that as well. And it will also turn this to done. So if I go to my LinkedIn page, I press refresh, then I can see that the post was finished. Right? So that's how you automatically post content without you having to intervene in the process. So let me delete post because I don't want it there. And let me go to Facebook right here. And if I go here, I can see that the post was posted right here. So that right there, guys, is a fully AI automated content system for you, for your workflows, for your own agency that you can start using tomorrow with this right here. So let's build this step by step. It is going to be the same amount of complexity as the other one, but fairly easy to do. Let me delete all of this. Let me delete this. Let me start with a blank canvas right here. Let me turn this off as well. Turn this off, and then I can start from zero. Now, the thought behind this is we want to make a dashboard, which we can delete right here, that we get notified, and bear with me because the logic will only come to you after a while that we actually start building this. we want to be able to get notified when something happens on the sheet. So whenever I change this row, whenever I press this button, whenever I change this block, if anything happens, we want to send a signal to make.com, alarming them that something has changed within the sheet, okay? Because this is going to allow us to be able to automate the process of actually sending in different ways for the content. So if I go here, if I go to webhook, if I go to custom webhook, we do the exact same process as before. Content system, press save. And this right here, guys, in case a lot of you guys are asking, how do we make money using the systems? I've sold these systems for over $3,000, $4,000 for agencies, right? I don't do this anymore because I'm more focused on the onboarding and product management. But you can make real value, real money with these systems because they streamline the process of making content, right? Content is something that all businesses need to do, but they don't have to do because it's very repetitive and it's very time consuming and they don't know how to do it, right? That's beauty of the system. And I'm going to show you my systems later on that will allow you to see exactly how you can sort of go to the depth and the more complex systems right there. So now, how do we make it so that when we press something here, when we change something here, it sends a signal to make.com. We made a webhook, we get a URL right here, we press save, and then we go to this right here. And it's the same sort of concept as Google Form. We're making an app script. So to make an app script, you can go to extensions and app script. And this right here is using the webhook right here. So we go to extensions, app script, we go to our document right here. But now we go to the sheet script. This is the Google Sheet one. In this case, we want to copy this whole thing right here, copy it, and then we want to paste it right here. And the only thing we want to change is this right here. There's nothing else that you should worry about. Just copy paste the code and you just press save and it should be good to go. So let me go here. Let me paste the webhook that I just made. Let me paste the webhook that I just made and I press save. So in theory, now I'm going to obviously test that it works. But all we did is we made the webhook and we created an app script so that whenever something changes on a sheet, we can send a signal to the webhook right here. Someone said I'm going a bit fast, which is, thanks for letting me know. But yeah, this document I'm going to share with you right here. So nothing else that you should worry about. All you have to do is copy this, go here, extensions, app script, and then you just paste it right here and you press save. And then you have to replace the webhook with the one that you made right here. So same exact concept as before. Before it was, how do we get notified when someone fills out a form? In this case is, how do we get notified when something changes on the sheet, right? So same concept, different sort of approach. Is AppScript a Google Sheet feature? Yes, it is. Can humanizing the language tool? Yes, you definitely can. I'm going to share with you exactly how to make the best content using AI as well, because there's a lot of misconceptions there as well. But in this case, let's test the system. If I change something here, it should trigger an automation to this right here, that something changed. And the value right here is the value that we changed, and all the different variables, I'm going to walk you through it. Before that, I want to make the system. So I want to make the idea topic, content trigger, Facebook post, LinkedIn post, image, and post trigger. So if I go here, then I can go to idea topic. If I go to content trigger. So think of this as you're making your own SaaS, right? You're creating your own sort of little workflow that creates content. And then to add a button, you can insert drop down. I'm going to put B2 just because if you can see right here, the button is on the first row. We want it to be on the second row. And then I'm going to press generate. Let's put this as yellow. And then we can put done as a status update, which is green. So again, idea topic, then we want to press this button. Then we want to have the LinkedIn post appear here. Then we want to have the Facebook post appear here. Then we want to have the image URL. And then we want to have the post trigger. So that's the trigger that says, okay, when you press this button, then it will send a signal and it will post the content. If you see me stop, that means I'm reading the chat. Again, the resources will be shared with you after, so don't worry about any of this if it doesn't make sense right now. This is just to show you what you can do with this sort of systems. So drop down, F2, post, done, green, and then you press done right here. So again, we made a dashboard where we put the topic, we press generate, it sends a signal, it talks to ChatGPT automatically, it makes the LinkedIn post, it makes the Facebook post, it makes the image, and then when you press this, you can post it automatically. Then some might think, where is the human review? Like, are we just posting content automatically? Well, no, there is a human review, and that's the review that you have when this is done before you press this. It will not post the content automatically as soon as it makes it. You have to review it first. You have to give it the heads up. You have to give it the green light, and then you can post content using this button right here. So now, let me go back here. Let me go to the steps. And now we want to use something called a router. So we want to split the automation into two different ways, because the first way is to generate content. The second way is to post content. So then you think, how do we make it so that we split the automation in two different ways? Well, the answer to that is using a router. So you press plus and you go here on the top right. As you can see by the visual element, it's allowing us to send the automation in two different ways, because we want to send it this way to generate content, this way to post content. And okay, so if I go here, generate content. So the first step is to send it right here. And I'm going to add OpenAI because that's the word that we use for ChatGPT in this case. And we want to create a completion because that just basically replaces you having to go to ChatGPT right here. So that right there, that module, it replaces you having to go here, you type something, and then it giving you a response, right? That's the sort of automation that we want to prevent or replace in this case. So create a completion, and then we have here, you want to add, and then you want to put your API key to connect to your account, obviously. I'm going to go through some very crucial steps that have a lot to do with prompting using ChatGPT for your own life, which is very, very valuable because it's something that a lot of you guys don't know because you don't really know about the actual prompting side, prompt engineering, but there's different skills, different sort of tips and tricks that you should know about prompting that are going to increase your prompting by at least 40% as you start using this. But first of all, let's choose the model, which in this case is 4o. And then in terms of chat completion, so max completion tokens, think of a token as a character. So if you tell it 2048, you're telling it, look, your output should be max 2048. When is this valuable or when is this not valuable? Where this right here, let's say you're making a really long, complex blog and you're putting the characters as 2000 characters, but your blog that's going to come out is more than 2000. What ChatGPT will do is we'll look at the limit. Did it give me a limit? If you limited me at 2000 characters or 2000 tokens, I will cut the output at 2000. In this case, let's just take this out. And it basically means just use whatever you have to use. And then you add a message. Okay, on to the very important part. When you go to role, you can see the different roles, okay? ChatGPT has three different roles. It has a system, it has a user, it has an assistant. These are very crucial to understand in order to actually increase your prompting or have high quality prompts. I can guarantee that a lot of you guys are going to ChatGPT right now and you're saying, do this and do that, right? You're giving it a task. You will need to do this. Well, that's wrong because first of all, you're not going to get the output that you want for most times. And it's for a few reasons. You need to use a system prompt and you need to use a user prompt. Assistant is only for specific cases, but I'm going to cover exactly what each one does. A system prompt / developer, so let's call it system, is a prompt where you tell ChatGPT, you are this. You give it an identity. You tell it, you are an expert content creator. You are an XYZ, right? Why do we do this? Well, it's because we want to psych ChatGPT in understanding or in thinking that it actually is the identity that we gave it. That's the important thing. So again, system prompt is you are an expert level financial tracker, you are an expert level content creator, and so on. Then we go to user. User is the exact prompts that you guys are using right now, which is you need to do this. Your task is to do this. And then we go to assistant, which is giving it examples. So let's say you're telling it, take this name and clean it up, make it look nice. And then you give it a few examples of what the input to output should look like. Again, in the chat, what is a system prompt? What does it do? What are you telling ChatGPT to do? What do we use system prompts for? Just type it in the chat. See if you guys understood. James, you're on the right track, which is good. Someone said no clue. Patrick, there's no worries, man. Yes, so it's to give it an identity. So you're telling it you are A. So next time you go to ChatGPT, the first thing that should ever come out of your keyboard is you are A, right? And then you say, obviously you give it a role. So in this case, let's do you are an expert, expert content level, or expert content creator, sorry, expert content creator. Well, obviously we're not using ChatGPT here, we're using make.com. So let's do system. Let's go to here. Let's do you are an expert LinkedIn content creator. Plus, and then we add another message. So when you add a message, it just means you are just writing another line here. And then you want to use the user prompt. So your task is to write a high effective LinkedIn post about the topic below. And then here we want to put the topic. So topic, let's reference the topic from the column 1, because that's a column that we're going to add. So let me do row values, which shows me all the row values. And then let's put 0. You drag it across, because in code 0 is always the first, and then this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so these are zeros here. Okay. Topic right here, and then we want to give it a few rules. Let me see. Use Spartan tone, and then you want to only output the LinkedIn post. That's it. Why am I telling it only output the LinkedIn post? Well, you see how when I tell it something, it tells me, yes, I'll be happy to help. We don't want that. We just want the actual LinkedIn post, right? We just want the structure of the LinkedIn post, and that's it. We don't want anything else apart from that. So that's where we have to guide it in understanding that it only needs to give me what I want. I'm going to tell it again, only output the LinkedIn post. And then you press save. Let me rename this LinkedIn post, or yeah, LinkedIn post. Okay, let's test this. Let me run this once. Row values, I can put 0. Yeah, voice agents, I can press OK. And this is basically running the module. It's telling it, okay, running with this dummy variable, and this is the LinkedIn post that it made. Now, in terms of quality, right? I'm not gonna show you exactly the most quality post, because that will take me a while, because it is a lot about prompting. But just think about ChatGPT as the input equals the output. If you put bad stuff in, you get bad stuff out. So your prompting needs to be very, very sort of good when it comes to content specifically. Now, one important thing, we don't want to send it to this way, because right now we're setting it up so that if anything changes, it automatically talks to ChatGPT and it makes a LinkedIn post. We don't want it to be that way. We only want it to send it to ChatGPT to make a LinkedIn post when we press this button right here, generate, in column 2. So now we want to do a condition. And someone asked me about conditions before in the chat. So this is where conditions come in. As you see on this line, you want to tell it, you want to give it a barrier. Don't go above this line. Don't go beyond this line if this equals that, or if that equals this. So when we press this, we can look at conditions. We can label the condition generate content. And here is where we can say the column start, so that's a column that we're changing, needs to be column 2. It can't be column 3, right? It needs to be column 2, equals to 2. And the value, right? So let's drag it across. The value needs to equal to generate, equals to generate. Only then do we send it this way. So let me show you exactly what I mean. Again, we put column start. So if this column equals to 2, because that's the 2, and the value equals to generate, then we send it that way. So save, you can press this, and let me test it right here. So in theory, if I change anything else apart from this column right here, it should not send it through the ChatGPT. I changed something, and then it stopped right here. It says 0, because none of them were qualified enough to go down that way. Now let me do the exact one. So let me go here, press generate. Now it should send a signal, and it should go to ChatGPT to make the content. So that's good. Let me clone this, because we're basically making the same thing, but for Facebook posts. So let me clone this, or you can simply hover over this. So shift hover, copy and paste. I'm gonna take this filter out because it automatically takes a filter with it. Press save. And then here, we want to rename this to Facebook post. And we want to change the LinkedIn post to the Facebook post. You're an expert Facebook content creator. And I'm going to change everything to Facebook. The topic right here is dynamic. So every time it changes, right, that's where the automation comes in. And we want to press save. So in the chat right now, I wanted to, oh, I think they restricted chat. So, okay. I was going to ask if you guys put the assistant prompt.
Oh, no, the chat is on.
Oh, is it on? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's fine. So in the chat right now, from what you've heard so far, what is an assistant prompt? Assistant, not user, not a system. Assistant prompt. So we have system, which is identity. User is URA. Oh, sorry, your task is to. What is assistant? So Asanya, you got it right. Yes, give examples. Exactly. You want to give it examples. You want to tell it, look, do this. So you are this, do this. And then, okay, here's a few examples to guide you in the right direction. Now that we got this far, we can press plus and we can go to ChatGPT and we can do generate an image. So again, we can do a bunch of stuff with ChatGPT, but in this case, we want to generate an image. The model, DALL-E 3, again, this is not the best model, right? I don't use ChatGPT to make images, but this is just because we're using ChatGPT. I'm going to show you how to do it with ChatGPT. It's going to be the exact same process with another software. The only thing that changes is the quality. That's it. The prompt right here will be the first column, which is the one right here, 0. Can see go here, and I can say generate an image for the topic below, and I can give it a few spaces. So you see how automations is all about taking previous steps for future steps, right? That's why it's so valuable, because you can use previous steps to do other steps, and it's dynamic. It changes every single time. You can do the same thing using Gemini. Yes, you can. If I go here, Gemini right here, Google Gemini, you can create a track completion, and you can do all that stuff. So let me do generate image. And now what we want to do is add it all back to the sheet. So we're not adding a row, we're updating a row because we already added it, right? So we put the topic, we press the button, and now we want to update it to this column, and this column. So let me go to Google Sheet and I can do update a row right here. And I'm going to change the account because I'm using my personal one. And I want to do search from all. Oh, actually, no. Let me do this. Spreadsheet ID. So this is just choosing which spreadsheet you want to use. And I can do alt scale. Oh, actually, it's shared with me, so I can do that. Alt scale content. The sheet name is to sheet 1 because that is sheet 1, alt scale content. And then the row number, because we're dynamically using it, right? Let's go scroll down, and then row number is row start. So column start is what column we're changing. Row start is what row we're changing as well. And then we can do here. And then this is where we can add the LinkedIn post that we made, the Facebook post that we made, and the image URL, right? So if I go to LinkedIn post, I can go to the result because this is the outcome, the output. Facebook post is going to be the exact same thing. So let me drag it across. Well, let me go here. Facebook post, and then the image URL will be inside the data, and it'll be in the URL. And press. And then actually you can do a status update to done because you want to change this to done. So what did we do so far? Because we've covered a lot already. We made it so that when anything changes on a sheet, it sends a signal to make the comp, telling it, okay, we changed something, do whatever you have to do. Then we said, okay, but we don't want it to send it to ChatGPT whenever we change something on the sheet. We only wanted to send it to ChatGPT when we change something in column 2 and a value needs to be generated. So then we said, okay, let's make a filter. So we made a filter that says when column is equal to 2, when the value of the actual thing that we're changing is equal to generate, then send it this way. Then we said to ChatGPT, do this and do that. Here's a topic. Same thing with Facebook, same thing with the image, and we bring it all back to the sheet. Then we said, okay, prompting. Prompt engineering is very important because what you put in is what you get out. System prompt is URA. You gave it an identity. User prompt is your task is to. A system is A system prompt is your examples, or let me give you a few examples to help you guide you in the right direction. Or you can say, here are a few examples that work really well. And then you say, okay, first example, input, output, right? That's the sort of thing there. I'm gonna put a topic here. So AI in the legal world. And I can press run once, copying data, and I'm gonna press generate. So this should generate the LinkedIn post, the Facebook post, the image, and then bring it all back to the sheet. What if you don't like the image generated? Then you can press generate again and you can regenerate it. Okay, so we have the LinkedIn post, we have the Facebook post, and we have the image URL right here. So we made a custom dashboard that allows us to make content, and then we connected everything right here. So we know that this works. And now we can move on to the next step. The next step is actually posting the content. So how do we make it so that we send it the other way to post the content to LinkedIn and to Facebook? So that's where we use the next step right here. So I'm going to put a filter where if the column is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if the column is 6 and the button is post, then we send it the other way and we post the content. Okay, so now you're understanding the logic, right? So how do we make it so that if this, then it goes this way? If there's this column, if it's this value, then we send it this way. If not, then we send it the other way. And that's the logic right there. So the condition is column start equals to 6 and the value equals to post. So post content. You press save. Okay, now we have to post it to Facebook and we have to post it to LinkedIn. So I can press plus right here, which is adding a software, and I can go to Facebook pages and I can create a post with photos. I think that's the right connection. So I'm gonna go to my page. Oh, actually, no, it's the wrong connection. My page is right here. The way to connect it again is to go add and you press save and it automatically goes to your link to your Facebook. It says, do you want to authorize this? And you can press yes and it automatically adds it to the connection. Doesn't matter what order it is. It does not matter. I'm just showing you step by step what it looks like. Photos right here, it tells you, so you're adding a photo, right? And it gives you two options. And bear this in mind because LinkedIn does not give us two options. It only gives us one option. It tells us, do you want to use the photo from URL or do you want to download the photo and then give it to Facebook to actually post it? In this case, we want to do photo from URL. So the URL is going to be in column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So 5. So if I go down here, I can go to, well, in this case will be 4 because again, the 0 is 1 and then the other ones are following. And the actual post itself is the message. So the message is going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So we're going to put 3. So what do we do? We're using variables. We're using different data from the previous steps to then send it back and post it. So everything is automatic. Everything is together, right? Integrated. It takes a while to actually understand these things, but just to show you what it's possible, this is exactly what you can do. And I can press save right here. And then I can press plus. So we're adding LinkedIn right here. And then we create a user image post. So you can create a text post or you can create an image post. As you can see here, it doesn't give us the option to add a URL. It doesn't tell us, okay, you can use the URL. It tells us download the image first before you add it to the URL. So we need to add one more step here. And the step right here is to download the image using Make.com's own integrated module before we add it to LinkedIn to post it. So if I go back, I can look here, and this is going to be the first time you see this. So I don't expect you to understand in this sense fully, but we want to download a file from URL. So if you see here, it says downloads a file from a given URL. So we're using a URL, it downloads it, and then we can add it to LinkedIn automatically without having to worry about any URL or anything like that. So we can press this and we can put it in the middle. So it slides across, it adds it automatically. And here is where it's asking us for URL. So we're saying, okay, Facebook, here's your URL, you can go out and post it. Then LinkedIn says, okay, I don't want to I don't want to use the URL. They don't use the URL. Download the image first before adding it to my platform. So we have to add an additional step before this to download the image before we add it to LinkedIn. And this is column 4. And we press save. Let me delete this. Let me go here. And then I can put LinkedIn again, image post. And you see how this is automatically connected because it caught on to us actually doing this. So now we can do the content because the image is already stored. And the content will be in column 2 right here because it's column 3, 1, 2, 3, and then it's right here. And I can press save. So here, press save. And now we want to update the row. So I'm going to copy this. And because we want to make our life easier, we don't want to do the whole thing again. In this case, you don't want to add the done, you don't want to add the LinkedIn post, you don't want to add the Facebook post, you don't want to add the image, but you want to update the trigger to done. And then you press save. Okay, so if you've gotten this far, then you know what's possible and you know how we did it, right? It's not something that is very easy to do at the start, but with step-by-step directions, you can do it. And there's no doubt that you guys on the other side of the screen, you'll be able to do it within a day if you actually follow it step by step. And they're going to provide you with all the resources. So don't worry if you haven't understood fully everything that I've spoken about. So I'm going to press save. I'm going to go out, press save right here. And if you noticed, up until now, I have been running once to test it. If you want to completely just stop the testing and automate the whole process every single time without you having to be there, then you just toggle this on. And I'm going to start with a blank slate. Okay, let me do AI or why agencies need better project management, better spelling, management, and onboarding systems. Now we can press generate, right? And this should send it here because it's column 2 and it's generate. It should make the link post, Facebook post, generate the image, and bring it all back to the sheet right here. So we're just going to wait. Was the HTTP module for photo URL in LinkedIn a condition? It's a condition to posting to LinkedIn, yes, correct. What if a flow has an error due to connections? Well, it will show you, it will send you an email as well telling you there's an error, but you can go around it as well. So that's not going to be a problem. So done, so we know it's done. And LinkedIn post is here, Facebook post is here, image URL is here. Again, the image isn't great, of course, because it's Dahlia 3. And then we can press post right here. When we press post, so in this case, you will be reviewing it. You'll be like, okay, I like this, I don't like this. Facebook post right here, image URL, and then I can press post. This will send it this way. It would post it to Facebook first, then it will download the image using the URL that we have here, and then it would post it to LinkedIn. And we see this turns to done. So if I go to my LinkedIn, I can refresh. And then I can have this here. I'm going to delete this just for the sake of the content. If I reload here, refresh, then you can see here. So that's how you build a fully AI automated content system. And bear in mind, you can do this with Instagram, you can do this with Twitter, you can increase the quality of the actual posts. There's a lot you can do with this system. This is just an implementary example that shows you what you can do. The setup is very similar. You're always going to be making a Google Sheet dashboard. That's always going to happen. But what LLM do you use? Well, usually I use Claude, right? Claude is great at using content, better than ChatGPT. For image, I will use something called Ideogram, or Midjourney is great, right? There's different softwares that can create the different images, but that's what we're using today. Now, to overwhelm you even more, I'm going to show you my content system to show you what sort of systems that I use. This is going to be a bit more complex, but this is what it looks like, right? Because I have different actions, I have different things. I get YouTube videos and I transcribe them to, if I go to my personal content system, I take YouTube URLs, I press transcribe, it transcribes it, it makes a LinkedIn post, industry, it does the research, personal, it does personal posts, and there's a bunch of stuff that you can do from that end. So Pani, you can take over. We can go to the Q&A. I'm sure there's a lot of questions that come through, especially for these side of things. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think that session was amazing. Though, while I was going through the chat messages, I could see that a lot of you kind of felt overwhelmed and kind of said that, hey, I'm not able to catch up with the pace. Well, this was just a trailer of what is possible with automations, right? It comes with practice and we want you to practice. So, I'm going to be shortly revealing a lot of bonuses and resources that we are going to be leaving all of you with. But let's get into the questions. I can see a lot of love coming your way, Mikle. So, firstly, from Outskill side, thank you so much for doing this.
No
The
worries.
best part is not a lot of people know how to set up automations today, right? And
Exactly.
all of you have at least stayed on and looked at the process in which you can go ahead and create these automations. So, kudos to all of you as well. But thank you so much, Mikle. Let's see if there are any questions coming in.
Course.
A
Yeah, I mean,
lot of
and I want to
questions.
say if you've gotten this far, then you're ahead of most people because most people would have just quit in the middle and say, this is too hard. I can't do this. But if you've gotten this far, then you know what's possible. And it takes time, like anything else. It takes time to actually learn these things. But for you to see what you can do is already valuable in that sense. Um, and I'm going to do one more thing for you guys, just as a giveaway for being a Saturday afternoon, evening, actually staying up and learning these things. Each different automation is a blueprint, right? It's a different blueprint. I'm going to share with you 35 different blueprints that I've spent over hundreds of hours actually crafting for you guys for completely free. So you can obviously you can go to create a new scenario and you can import it right here. And the whole blueprint, the whole automation will be done for you without you having to do a single thing. And the only thing you have to do is connect the softwares and you can start using the automation on that end. So I'm gonna go here. I'm going to go to the profile and then I'm going to take this right here. So I'm gonna paste the link in the chat right now.
Let me actually close the chat box for a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, and you can post it now.
There we go. So that link right there, it shows you exactly how you can start implementing it. So take the blueprint and put it onto your make.com, completely free. Just take it, use it, see what's possible, play around with it, fail, right? Learn, do all that stuff. Because that's how you learn at the end of the day. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this, Mikle. All of the blueprints as well. Folks, using these blueprints is going to be super easy for you. You can import them directly to make.com. And of course, you can use these blueprints to, set up some processes for you. But the